An 80 billion parameter AI model just ran in 4.3 gigabytes of RAM, no cloud, no subscription. By the end, you'll know how and where it ran next. A real AI model needs a data center, a GPU rig, a monthly bill. That's the deal everyone quietly accepted. One weekend coding project just broke it, on hardware most of you already own. This is Swiftlet, a Swift and Metal runtime built solo that streams a model's weights off your SSD instead of stuffing them all into memory at once. Read the repo's own words. Run 35 and 80 billion parameter Qwen models on ordinary Apple devices, iPhones included. 329 stars, 8 forks, and an Apache 2.0 license. Anyone can read this code, fork it, or ship it commercially today for free. And here's Loop 1. It isn't just a Mac story. That same 35 billion parameter model runs on an iPhone. How slow that actually is, hang on to that. So what's the catch? There's a real one buried in exactly how this trick saves memory. It changes what the model can actually remember. That's Loop 2, and it's the most honest part of this video. Here's the trick in one number. Only about 3 billion of those 80 billion parameters are active for any single token. The rest just sit on disk, asleep, until they're actually called. The whole requirement list: Apple Silicon, macOS 14 or iOS 17, and free disk space, 18 gigabytes for the smaller model, 42 for the big one. No GPU rig, no account. Time to check the exact numbers against the real repo and the real thread, not the highlight reel. On an actual Mac M5, 4.3 gigabytes of peak RAM to run the full 80 billion parameter model at 4 to 5 tokens a second. A model this size has never fit in a number this small. Straight from the project's own spec table, only about 3 billion parameters are active per token. That's the whole mechanism. The rest of the model waits on disk. Line them up. The 80 billion model needs 42 gigabytes of disk space, but only 4.3 gigabytes of RAM. The smaller 35 billion build needs even less, 2.6 gigabytes. Disk holds the weight. RAM barely notices. And here's Loop 1, paid off. That same 35 billion parameter model runs on an iPhone 17, about 1 token a second. Slow, also completely real. Here's that exact line from the repo. It runs on an iPhone 17 in about 2.5 gigabytes of RAM. No prior local AI project has put a model this size in your pocket. One name behind all of it, Linux 1. No company, no funding round, no GPU cluster. A solo developer who wrote a streaming runtime instead of buying a bigger Mac. Same day it posted, it hit the Hacker News front page, 296 points, and climbing when we checked. The cache behind it hits up to 70%, meaning most of the time, the expert weight a token needs is already warm, not waiting on the SSD. The mechanism itself, word for word. It caches hot experts in a bounded pool with LFU plus recency eviction. Translation, it guesses which experts you'll need again and keeps those close. The creator's own words on Hacker News, 4.5 to 5 tokens a second for the 80 billion model on an M5. And the bottleneck, in his words, is GPU dispatch, not the disk. Here's a genuinely surprising result. A bigger cache barely helped. Hit rate jumped from 43 to 70%, but the tokens per second stayed almost identical either way. Now the catch, the trade-off nobody puts in the launch tweet. Before it says a single word, prefilling 10,000 tokens of context takes about 30 minutes on an M5. A commenter called that out immediately and fairly. One commenter put it bluntly, half an hour to process 10,000 tokens on an M5 seems, in his words, not great. He's not wrong. And here's Loop 2, finally paid off. Because only 3 billion parameters are truly active, the model writes like it's huge, but recalls facts like it's small. The project says this about itself in plain text. It will chat and write like large models, but recall facts like small ones. That's not spin. That's the actual ceiling. The pitch versus the reality. An 80 billion parameter model on your phone sounds like frontier scale knowledge. What you actually get is 80 billion scale fluency, riding on roughly 3 billion parameters of real memory. One more honest limitation. If you're on Windows or Android, none of this applies to you today. Swiftlet only runs on Apple Silicon. That's the whole platform for now. Call it what it is, a genuine engineering trick, not magic. It doesn't erase the difference between a phone and a data center, it just moves the line. The whole scoreboard on one screen. Peak RAM for the 80 billion model, 4.3 gigabytes, genuinely tiny. Prefill for 10,000 tokens, about 30 minutes, genuinely slow. Platform support, Apple only. None of that is a knock, it's what checking the receipts actually looks like. One more look at the spec table, because it's worth confirming twice. 42 gigabytes of disk, 4.3 gigabytes of peak RAM. Written down, not marketing copy. Every number in this video traces back to that repo or that thread. Nothing invented, nothing rounded up. Now, let's be honest. The memory trick is completely real and it works. The prefill time is slow and it's Apple only, command line only. And its actual knowledge recall is closer to a 3 billion parameter model than an 80 billion parameter one. So what does this actually prove about who gets to run frontier scale AI? Here's the number that actually matters. $0 a month forever to run an 80 billion parameter model on a machine you might already own. Compare that to any Frontier API's monthly invoice. Rent an AI model from someone else's cloud, and every token is metered and billed. Own the weights and stream them off your own SSD, and the only dependency left is hardware you already have. That's the whole thesis of this channel, running as actual code. Everything it needs in 5 words straight from the repo. Apple Silicon, macOS 14, or iOS 17. No account creation. No terms of service checkbox for a rented model. Add it up. The software, free, Apache 2.0 licensed. The monthly bill, $0 forever. The hardware, Apple Silicon you may already be carrying in your pocket right now. That's the entire budget for everything in this video. 80 billion parameters. Streaming in real time off a phone that's already in your pocket. That's not a demo anymore. That's just Tuesday. The real takeaway isn't the phone trick. It's that local AI keeps quietly eating capabilities nobody expected it to reach this soon, on hardware you already own. So, to recap, an 80 billion parameter model, 4.3 gigabytes of RAM, Apple Silicon only. About 30 minutes to prefill a long context and real-world recall closer to a 3 billion parameter model. $0 a month, Apache licensed, yours to fork today. That's the story. 80 billion parameters, no cloud, no subscription, and an honest catch that keeps it real. Subscribe back if that saved you an assumption. Yesterday's $90 phone that runs a pentest is sitting right there, worth 8 minutes.